Hello there everybody, WhatCulture Wrestling's Adam Clery here. Yes, I now have my own special jacket for NXT videos, and we are fresh, and I use that word very loosely, from watching the first ever head-to-head broadcast of pro wrestling in North America for like 20 years. And I specifically sat there with my little headphones on and I watched NXT. Now, I don't want a medal or anything, but it is flip me actually 4 o'clock in the morning, and if you've ever seen these immediately in the aftermath videos we've done in the past, you know they are as rambling and incoherent as Beth Phoenix's commentary. So I will try and make this short and sweet like me, except maybe a little bit shorter and definitely a lot sweeter. But before I start, super quick, I want to set a couple of ground rules for this, because going forward the game has completely changed, hasn't it? This isn't just about NXT anymore. This is about the Wednesday Night War. This is about AEW, and thus, as NXT changes, so does the coverage around it, and this being the coverage around it, it might change as well. But I'm going to say this right now, and this is my word, this is my vow, you can hold me to this forever. For as long as I am doing this show, I will try my absolute bestest to not compare anything that happens with AEW. It will be critiqued in its own context. It will be given its own due in its own right. It will not be about whether or not it was better or worse than what was on the other channel. I swearsies. And just quickly, in case you didn't already know, Simon Miller, he will be presenting AEW Ups and Downs starting, well, round about now, I would imagine, hence why I am presenting this one. So you can go watch his show, you can go watch my show, you can watch NXT, you can watch AEW, you can put it all together and draw your own conclusions. But for me, right here, right now, it's just going to be about NXT, mostly. So without further ado, my name is Adam Clery, and these are all the ups and downs for NXT. See? T. I can't actually write jokes, I just choose not to. Straight off the bat, tonight was a big night, and that was immediately felt in the nature of the broadcast. The crowd were really hot, and we will get to them later. The choice of opening match was brilliant, but we will get to that later. I just want to take a little second to look at this exact shot of Riddle and Cole standing in the ring with all the lights off, and straight away, chills, straight away, spine-tingling opening to that show. I want to give that an up, because made you feel things, and pro wrestling should make you feel things. And the match itself was... oh, I've nearly said this a couple of times in the other 2 weeks we've done this video, but it felt takeover standard to me. It felt like if you held that in comparison to the other NXT World Championship matches at recent takeovers, it would stack. It would do really well against those. It was certainly better than Cole Gargano in the big, messy 3 stages of Ambrose Asylum match that they ended up having. This was a brilliant wrestling match. Counter, 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 counter. Panama Sunrise into the money clip, and then a bro to sleep. It was just so furious and excellent and brutal. It was just, I've never seen a wrestling TV show, because that's what it was, remember, a TV show, open with a match that good. It's an up. One slight weird thing about the match was the whole, this build about Cole's arm and how it was going to be Riddle trying to tap him with him didn't really feature in the match itself. Yes, it was the finish. Cole hits him in the face with the cast, I think it was on that arm, gets a distraction, then gets him with a knee, and he gets the win, retains his title. He goes on to defend against, I wonder who, and Matt Riddle can go and do whatever the hell he wants, because the sky is honestly the limit for that boy. So Cole's won, hasn't he? Yay, I'm Adam Cole, I've retained my title, the prophecy this, the prophecy that, boom, etc. And he's standing in the ring, yay, I'm so great. And what happens? Let's see, was it something we were expecting? No, it was not. Finn goddamn Balor's music hits. Now, we've heard so much about people who might be coming back, who might be doing this, who might be doing that. Finn Balor returns to NXT in his civilian clothes, in his casuals, and he walks down the ramp and he picks up the microphone and he just says, Finn Balor is NXT. Pop. I've probably rambled on for about 5 minutes at this point in the video, and you are a wrestling fan, you do not need me to explain to you why that is such an awesome development. So let's give it the up and let's move on. Seriously though, Balor is back. That's quite nice. I could mention this next point at any stage of the video, I think, but I think I'll do it right now. The Full Sail crowd. Now, we have said in other articles and other videos that perhaps one of the masterstroke decisions behind NXT moving to television was the decision to stay in Full Sail University. Rather than touring the country in front of random crowds who may like some of the wrestlers, who may not, who may attend well, who may not, staying in Full Sail where they know they're going to get a blistering, white-hot, dedicated audience. And tonight, like, my God, we had, I know I wasn't going to do the comparisons, but we had AEW on the other live stream, and the boys were like, "Ooh, crowd seems a bit dead for this. Crowd seems a bit quiet for this one." Full Sail were white hot all night for every single match. I have never heard them like that. They were amazing in the first match. They were amazing for the Women's Championship match. They were amazing in the main event. They themselves, as I suspect they will do every week, getting up. And then what the hell was this? Velveteen Dream is genuinely one of my favourite wrestlers in all of professional wrestling right now. When he comes out, he's on his throne of women, which I absolutely need to get myself at some point, and he cuts a promo about Roddy Strong and how you had all your pals last time, and even though the Dream doesn't normally mind taking on more than one man at once, I'm challenging you to a singles match. And he was mixing his metaphors. He was all over the place. He didn't make sense. He lost his way badly in this promo, and he gets it down for that. And my God, I love the man. I love Velveteen Dream, but can we just keep him away from a live mic until he's got that down, please? That was a horror show. Now, this next bit's going to become a little bit of a running joke, let's say, throughout this entire video. And, well, I'm sure Americans will tell me it's just down to my naive British sensibilities. I'm not used to this. I'm not used to watching it like this. But I've watched the last 2 weeks of NXT, and granted, one entire hour of that has been on the network. But dear God, it has not been anywhere near as bad as this. NXT live on the USA Network from Full Sail University with limited commercial interruptions. They were not limited. They were 2/3 of the screen. Like, okay, yes, I know American television works different to British television, and it's the same thing on Raw, and it's the same thing on SmackDown, but genuinely, my disappointment here is not that it is this way, it's that they constantly advertised and even reminded you during the show that it was limited commercial interruptions, and then kept repeatedly interrupting every single match with a commercial, with a series of commercials. I know so much about American adverts right now. I know what leakage percentage Huggies nappies have. I know how many cheeses are on a 4-cheese pizza. Thanks for that, Little Caesars. I know what Verizon are doing. I know that, what's he called? Tony the Tiger wants you to have less sugar on your breakfast cereal. I know so much about cars and which American servicemen can sue the government and which ones can't. I have seen genuinely more adverts tonight than I have seen wrestling, and the wrestling I did see was tiny. It was in the look. Put me in the thing. Put me in the small thing. This how you want to watch your content, is it? This what you want? This what you're tuning in for? Put me back. Down. I'm not going to bring it up again, even though they kept getting brought up again. They get one down for that, and I'm going to move on. That's my rage. My rage goes into that down, and we're good. We're calm. We're calm. We're calm. I have my tea. Everything's fine. I want to go to bed. Next up, a delicious slice of humble pie, which I should definitely not be eating at this hour. And Mia Yim versus Io Shirai was, despite the commercial interruptions, actually pretty good, I thought. In part, I have made many a joke about Mia Yim's wrestling ability, including this one, featuring some of the greatest talent in women's wrestling today. And Mia Yim. But gotta hand it to her, she was fine tonight. She looked Io Shirai's equal. The match was a little bit sloppy in places, but given that these two women have been also rounds in the women's division, putting them on second was a bit of a brave spot, I thought, and they both delivered, so credit where it's due, I'm giving them an up. Then immediately after, we got the traditional spot of WWE legends sitting in the crowd watching the NXT match, and for Io Shirai and Mia Yim, it was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash picking up chicks. Not going to score that, but one thing I am going to give an up to is the big profile they put then on Tegan Knox. Now she, if you don't know, she was Nixon Newell in the UK. She had a horrendous knee injury, a career-threatening knee injury, and just as she came back from that, they put her in the Mae Young Classic with, rumour has it, the intention of winning the whole tournament, and in the semi-final against Rhea Ripley, she blew her other knee out with pretty much the exact injury. Again, career-threatening, but again, she has come back and is going to be on NXT UK, and we presume NXT as well, judging by this promo package. She is, if you've not seen her before, she's an absolute goddamn hell of a wrestler, in my opinion, and the fact that they're going to feature her this prominently shows that they have big plans for the women's division, shows they have big plans for her, and I'm going to give that an up out of the goodness of my big yellow heart. More adverts after that, including one of literal paint drying. They put an advert for paint literally drying on... Now, if you're sitting there going, Adam, I actually tune into these so you can tell me about like the wrestling, because I haven't got time to watch all of the wrestling, so I require your opinion on the wrestling to know whether or not I myself should go and watch the wrestling. And you're not really talking about a lot of wrestling here, so can you get on with the wrestling? And the reason for that, wrestling fan, is because there wasn't actually a lot of wrestling in the first hour of this show. It was like the first match, and then Balor, and then Dream, and then adverts, and adverts, and adverts, and Huggies, and Frosties, and Dominoes again, and adverts, and adverts, and adverts. And then we got to Johnny Gargano versus Shane Thorne, and this was finally some wrestling, and it was pretty good. I'm aware of how manic I'm coming off here, just bear with me. Alright, so Shane Thorne's he's been doing the rounds on NXT for a while. His character's never quite fit, and he's always sort of floated about. His matches have never really quite delivered, and this was Johnny Gargano's return match. A man whose powder they have been keeping dry for the first 2 weeks to, you assume, make a big, spectacular, story-defining return. So this felt like an odd combination, but the opening showed you precisely why they did it. Thorne is absolutely on the money right now, and Gargano hasn't lost a step, and the opening chain wrestling sequences at the start of this match were superb. Couple of things worth pointing out with this. Gargano won off that just mega DIY super kick to the back of the head, and Thorne's mean streak was just made for an absolute hell of a match. If they can just nail his character down, he's going to be really excellent going forward. I thought this was just going to be a quick squash for Gargano, then you move him on to something else. But no, give me a series of this because it's already gotten up. Right, here we go. Here's what I thought was going to be match of the night. Shayna Baszler, Candice LeRae, NXT Women's Championship, Friday Night SmackDown start in 2 days' time. Put the belt on LeRae. There's your big shock result. She can go and defend against loads of new people. Meanwhile, Baszler can go to Fox. She can be on SmackDown, and nope! She retains and looked dominant as all hell doing so. I'll admit, though, they had me a good couple of times in this match. Baszler's power game at the start was absolutely excellent, but LeRae kept finding ways to get her damage in. Good, innovative offense, using the ring apron, using parts of the ring. She was industrious in her work, and some of her moves were excellent. She got a couple of springboards, was a lion salt counted into the thing. She even put Baszler in her own goddamn chokehold, and I thought that might actually be it, but no, after trying to, this is actually a great finish, she gets Baszler on her back, and she looks like she's going to lift her up, the kind of, the typical counter you get to these chokeholds, and she got her up, she just couldn't do it, she fell back, she tapped out, but it was... Very rarely in WWE do you look really strong in defeat. They can normally only book you to win and look strong. But both Shane Thorne in his match with Gargano and Candice LeRae here looked really, really good despite getting beat. I'd like to see rematches of these matches with the other people winning at some point. But who knows, in the here and now, that match, the women's title match, really good. Go watch it if you get the chance because getting it up. Next up was Pete Dunne and Danny Burch, and a match that snatches an up from the jaws of a down. I've said in the last 2 episodes of this, yes, it's great. Pete Dunne's a brilliant worker. We love seeing him in these one-on-one, contextless, storyless matches. They've been great. He's been helping put people over in the process. He's been putting himself over to an extent, but they had worn thin. If he just comes out every single week and wins a 10-minute match, what am I to get excited about? I just know that next week he's going to come out and win another 10-minute match, and lo and behold, he comes out to face Danny Burch and wins another 10-minute match. I'm sitting there going, do you know what? That's a good match, but I've made my point on this. I'm giving it a down, and oh my god, who's this? Yep, lights went out, Damian Priest arrived, decked Pete Dunne, and did this. Oh, this sick arrow thing that made his name light up on the Titantron. I think they still call it a Titantron, I don't know. I'm so very old. And finally, they're gonna give Dunne a storyline. They're gonna give him a rivalry to go with all these great matches. And in Priest, Christ, those could be some absolute bangers. They've got me wet with anticipation for that, but by the by, the Dunne match, the Burch match, it was as you'd expect. It was brutal, it was hard-hitting, there was a lot of near falls. Dunne looked like he was going to lose. Burch looked like an absolute monster, even cut his face a little bit. The ref had a little gloves on and everything like that. It was everything you'd expect from a Pete Dunne versus Danny Burch match, and obviously Pete Dunne won. Then we had the Priest thing. As I say, we're going to get more of that. The whole thing was going to get it down. I'm going to give it an up. And I know. I said I wasn't going to moan about the adverts anymore. I really wasn't going to moan about the adverts anymore. But the main event of this was completely... I watched... Honest to God, you must have watched 2/3 of that match in a tiny little portion of the screen. It looked like being an excellent tag match. Street Profits back for their NXT tag team titles against Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole backstage. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter about Finn Balor. I don't care about Finn Balor. You just go out there, prophecy, etc., etc., etc. And the match looked brilliant. Kyle O'Reilly, man. Like, when this Undisputed Era thing, when that is done, he has got to be the one that comes out with this. looking like. Just some of his moves and his counters and his fluidity and his action in the ring is just, you've seen nothing like it, man. But the man can do things with his knees that I can't do with my hands. I bet you any money Kyle O'Reilly is better at chopsticks with his legs than I am with my fingers. There was a lot of back and forths in this one, desperately waiting for the Street Profits to get the hot tag, which of course they did in the middle of an advert, but that's the last I'm going to mention of those. And when they did, the roof came off Full Sail, despite it being over 2 hours into the broadcast at this stage, because we had to run over into an extra 15 minutes. The crowd was still absolutely electric for this. I want to give them a million more ups, but they've already had theirs. They can't have any more. Keep doing on this side. I really hope they're on this side, otherwise I'm going to look really silly. Anyway, so the match finished with a tiny little bit of interference from Roderick Strong. He came out, he pulled somebody off the top rope. He didn't really do too much. You wouldn't say that they stole it, but he did cause a distraction. That allowed Undisputed Era to hit that lovely little cross finisher they've got, and they picked up the win, 1, 2, 3. They retained their tag titles, and then you had... Oh, God. Well, first of all, let's just get this out of the way. The match gets an up. The match was really good. And then we got it, didn't we? We got it. All three of them very pleased with themselves, just like Adam Cole was at the start of the night. All three of them standing there in the ring with their little tag titles and the little North American title. O'Reilly, Fish, Strong. They're pleased as punch. They couldn't have done any better tonight. And then where is he? There he is. Adam Cole appears on the ramp, waves to his friends. Hello, boys. No need for us to close this gap. I'm sure after my early misfortune in the evening when Finn Balor appeared to challenge me for my title, surely that is the end of my bad luck this evening. There is no need for you boys to come anywhere near me. You stay in the ring. Oh, Tommaso goddamn Ciampa. Tommaso goddamn Ciampa. Tommaso goddamn Ciampa. I'm so happy that Tommaso Ciampa is back, genuinely. And in case you were wondering if they'd softened his edges after the whole me and Gargano are pals again thing, he literally comes out and he does not take his eyes off Goldie, because he is still clinically unhinged, and I cannot wait for him to shove Adam Cole's teeth down the back of his throat. Are they going to do a triple threat at War Games between Cole and Ciampa and Balor? Am I erect? Anyway, I know he scores a wild and all over the place, but it was a wild and all over the place night, and Ciampa gets another up just for the way they brought him back. Perfectly timing it, giving us Balor at the start of the night to stop us thinking about what would happen at the end of it, and then giving us the best surprise of all right at the end. What a show this was. This is honestly, I mean this isn't just the lack of sleep and the 4 teas and the lovely soup I've had talking. This is me, pure, my heart's one true song will sing to you now. That is the best 2 hours, 15 minutes of wrestling television I have seen live ever. I mean, they had to pull it out the bag tonight, didn't they, with the competition down the road doing everything they could to get all the headlines. I think on the face of it, NXT have probably stolen it tonight. Balor going back, there's a huge headline. Ciampa returning is a huge headline. The matches were takeover quality almost throughout. They've basically put on a mini takeover tonight on television, which is unsustainable, you'd probably assume, going forward. They can't do that again next week. They can't do it the week after that, so expectations may dip. You don't know what's going to happen going forward, but in the here and now, that was one excellent, excellent, excellent episode of NXT, and I hope, despite how crazy I've gone in this studio, an excellent, excellent episode of Ups and Downs. So yes, there you are, final score. Haven't got any skits to do at the end today because nobody else is in the office. Boom! Let us know what you made of it in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out Miller's Ups and Downs for AEW. I think it'll be out before mine, but in case it's after, keep an eye out for it. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam Clery, Clery. Thank you. I know the jacket is lovely, and I will see you soon. Love you all.